Good morning. Today's Bible reading comes from 1 Samuel 28 through 31 and Psalm 18. So let's get into it. Need to put my glasses on because I'm blind as a bat without them. It's tough reading these days. We are using the Message Bible. David thought to himself, sooner or later Saul's going to get me. The best thing I can do is escape to Philistine country. Saul will count me a lost cause and quit hunting me down in every nook and cranny of Israel. I'll be out of his reach for good. So David left. He and his 600 men went to Achish, son of... No, we already read that one. Sorry about that. Chapter 28. Let's start there. During this time, the Philistines mustered their troops to make war on Israel. Achish said to David, "You can count on this. You're marching with my troops, you and your men." And David said, "Good. Now you'll see for yourself what I can do." "Great," said Achish. "I'm making you my personal bodyguard for life." Samuel was now dead. All Israel had mourned his death and buried him in Ramah, his hometown. Saul had long since cleaned out those who held seances with the dead. The Philistines had mustered their troops and camped at Shunem. Saul had assembled all Israel and camped at Gilboa. But when Saul saw the Philistine troops, he shook in his boots, scared to death. Saul prayed to God, but God didn't answer, neither by dream, nor by sign, nor by prophet. Saul ordered his officials, "Find me someone who can call up spirits so I may go and seek counsel from these spirits." His servant said, "There is a witch at Endor." Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothes. Then, taking 2 men with him, he went under the cover of night to the woman and said, "I want you to consult a ghost for me. Call up the person I name." The woman said, "Just hold on now. You know what Saul did, how he swept the country clean of mediums. Why are you trying to trap me and get me killed?" Saul swore all solemnly, "As God lives, you won't get in any trouble for this." The woman said, "So whom do you want me to bring up?" "Samuel. Bring me Samuel." When the woman saw Samuel, she cried out loudly to Saul, "Why did you lie to me? You're Saul." The king told her, "You have nothing to fear. But what do you see?" "I see a spirit ascending from the underground." "And what does he look like?" Saul said. "An old man ascending, robed like a priest." Saul knew it was Samuel. He fell down, face to the ground, in worship. Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by calling me up?" "Because I'm in deep trouble," said Saul. "The Philistines are making war against me, and God has deserted me. He doesn't answer me anymore, either by prophet or by dream. And so I'm calling on you to tell me what to do." "Why ask me?" Samuel said. "God has turned away from you and is now on the side of your neighbor. God has done exactly what he told you through me, ripped the kingdom right out of your hands and given it to your neighbor. It's because you did not obey God, refused to carry out his seething judgment on Amalek, that God does to you what he is doing today. Worse yet, God is turning Israel along with you over to the Philistines. Tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. And yes, indeed, God is giving Israel's army up to the Philistines." Saul dropped to the ground, felled like a tree, terrified by Samuel's words. There wasn't an ounce of strength left in him. He'd eaten nothing all day and all night. The woman, realizing that he was in deep shock, said to him, "Listen to me. I did what you asked me to do, put my life in your hands in doing it, carried out your instructions to the letter. It's your turn to do what I tell you. Let me give you some food. Eat it. It will give you strength so you can get on your way. He refused. I'm not eating anything. But when his servants joined the woman in urging him, he gave in to their pleas, picked himself up off the ground, and sat on the bed. The woman moved swiftly. She butchered a grain-fed calf she had, took some flour, kneaded it, and baked some flat bread. Then she served it all up for Saul and his servants. After dining handsomely, they got up from the table and were on their way that same night. The Philistines mustered all their troops at Aphek. Meanwhile, Israel had made camp at the spring of Jezreel. As the Philistine warlords marched forward by regiments and divisions, David and his men were bringing up the rear with Achish. The Philistine officer said, "What business do these Hebrews have being here?" Achish answered the officers, "Don't you recognize David, ex-servant of King Saul of Israel? He's been with me a long time. I found nothing to be suspicious of, nothing to complain about, from the day he defected from Saul until now." Angry with Achish, the Philistine officer said, "Send this man back to where he came from. Let him stick to his normal duties. He's not going into battle with us. He'd switch sides in the middle of the fight. What better chance to get back in favor with his master than by stabbing us in the back? Isn't this the same David they celebrate at their parties, singing? Saul kills by the 1,000, David by the 10,000. So Achish had to send for David and tell him, "As God lives, you've been a trusted ally. Excellent in all the ways you have worked with me, beyond reproach in the ways you have conducted yourselves. But the warlords don't see it that way, so it's best that you leave peacefully now. It's not worth it displeasing the Philistine warlords." "But what have I done?" said David. "Have you had a single cause for complaint from the day I joined up with you until now? Why can't I fight against the enemies of my master, the king?" "I agree," said Achish. "You're a good man, as far as I'm concerned, God's angel. But the Philistine officers were emphatic. He's not to go with us into battle, so get an early start, you and the men who came with you. As soon as you have light enough to travel, go." David rose early, he and his men, and by daybreak they were on their way back to Philistine country. The Philistines went on to Jezreel. 3 days later, David and his men arrived back in Ziklag. Amalekites had raided the Negev and Ziklag. They tore Ziklag to pieces and then burned it down. They captured all the women, young and old. They didn't kill anyone, but drove them like a herd of cattle. By the time David and his men entered the village, it had been burned to the ground, and their wives, sons, and daughters all taken prisoner. David and his men burst out in loud wails, wept and wept until they were exhausted with weeping. David's 2 wives, Ahinoam of Jezreel and Abigail, widow of Nabal of Carmel, had been taken prisoner along with the rest, and suddenly David was in even worse trouble. There was talk among the men, bitter over the loss of their families, of stoning him. David strengthened himself with trust in his God. He ordered Abiathar the priest, son of Ahimelech, "Bring me the ephod so I can consult God." Abiathar brought it to David. Then David prayed to God, "Shall I go after these raiders? Can I catch them?" The answer came, "Go after them. Yes, you'll catch them. Yes, you'll make the rescue." David went, he and the 600 men with him. They arrived at the brook Bezor, where some of them dropped out. David and 400 men kept up the pursuit, but 200 of them were too fatigued to cross the brook Bezor and stayed there. Some who went on came across an Egyptian in a field and took him to David. They gave him bread and he ate, and he drank some water. They gave him a piece of fig cake and a couple of raisin muffins. Life began to revive in him. He hadn't eaten or drunk a thing for 3 days and nights. David said to him, "Who do you belong to? Where are you from?" "I'm an Egyptian slave of an Amalekite, he said. "My master walked off and left me when I got sick. That was 3 days ago. We had raided the Negev of the Kerethites of Judah and Caleb. At Ziklag we burned. David asked him, "Can you take us to the raiders?" "Promise me by God," he said, "that you won't kill me or turn me over to my old master, and I'll take you straight to the raiders." He led David to them. They were scattered all over the place, eating and drinking, gorging themselves on all the loot they had plundered from Philistia and Judah. David pounced. He fought them from before sunrise until evening of the next day. None got away except 400 of the younger men, who escaped by riding off on camels. David rescued everything the Amalekites had taken, and he rescued his 2 wives. Nothing and no one was missing, young or old, son or daughter, plunder or whatever. David recovered the whole lot. He herded the sheep and the cattle before them, and they all shouted, "David's plunder." Then David came to the 200 who had been too tired to continue with him and had dropped out at the brook Bezor. They came out to welcome David and his band. As he came near, he called out, "Success!" But all the mean-spirited men who had marched with David, the rabble element, objected. They didn't help in the rescue. They don't get any of the plunder we recovered. Each man can have his wife and children, but that's it. Take them and go. Families don't do this sort of thing. "Oh no, my brothers," said David, as he broke up the argument. "You can't act this way with what God gave us. God kept us safe. He handed over the raiders who attacked us. Who would ever listen to this kind of talk? The share of the one who stays with the gear is the share of the one who fights. Equal shares. Share and share alike." From that day on, David made that the rule in Israel, and it is still today. On returning to Ziklag, David sent portions of the plunder to the elders of Judah, his neighbors, with a note saying, "A gift from the plunder of God's enemies." He sent them to the elders in Bethel, Ramoth, Negev, Jatir, Arar, Sifmoth, Eshtemoa, Rakal, Jerahmeelite cities, Kenite cities, Hormah, Borashan, Atak, and Hebron, along with a number of other places David and his men went to from time to time. The Philistines made war on Israel. The men of Israel were in full retreat from the Philistines, falling left and right, wounded on Mount Gilboa. The Philistines caught up with Saul and his sons. They killed Jonathan, Abinadab, and Malchishua, Saul's sons. The battle was hot and heavy around Saul. The archers got his range and wounded him badly. Saul said to his weapon-bearer, "Draw your sword and put me out of my misery, lest these pagan pigs come and make a game out of killing me." But his weapon-bearer wouldn't do it. He was terrified. So Saul took the sword himself and fell on it. When the weapon-bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul, his 3 sons, and his weapon-bearer, the men closest to him, died together that day. When the Israelites in the valley opposite and those on the other side of the Jordan, saw that their army was in full retreat and that Saul and his sons were dead, they left their cities and ran for their lives. The Philistines moved in and occupied the sites. The next day, when the Philistines came to rob the dead, they found Saul and his 3 sons dead on Mount Gilboa. They cut off Saul's head and stripped off his armor. Then they spread the good news all through the Philistine country, in the shrines of their idols and among the people. They displayed his armor in the shrine of Ashtoreth. They nailed his corpse to the wall at Beth Shan. The people of Jabesh Gilead heard what the Philistines had done to Saul. Their valiant men sprang into action. They traveled all night, took the corpses of Saul and his 3 sons from the wall at Bethshan, and carried them back to Jabesh and burned off the flesh. They then buried the bones under the tamarisk tree in Jabesh and fasted in mourning for 7 days. And now Psalm 18. This is a psalm of David, which he sang to God after being saved from all his enemies and from Saul. I love you, God. You make me strong. God is bedrock under my feet, the castle in which I live, my rescuing knight. My God, the high crag where I run for dear life, hiding behind the boulders, safe in the granite hideout. I sing to God the praise lofty, and find myself safe and saved. The hangman's noose. Got a tickle in my throat. The hangman's noose was tied in my throat. Devil waters rushed over me. Hell's ropes cinched me tight. Death traps barred every exit. A hostile world. I call to God. I cry to God to help me. From his palace he hears my call. My cry brings me right into his presence, a private audience. Earth wobbles and lurches. High mountains shake like leaves, quake like aspen leaves because of his rage. His nostrils flare, bellowing smoke. His mouth spits fire. Tongues of fire dart in and out. He lowers the sky. He steps down. Under his feet an abyss opens up. He's riding a winged creature, swift on wind wings. Now he's wrapped himself in a trench coat of black cloud darkness. But his cloud brightness burst through, spraying hailstones and fireballs. Then God thundered out of heaven. The high God gave a great shout, spraying hailstones and fireballs. God shoots his arrows, pandemonium. He hurls his lightnings, are out. The secret source of ocean are exposed. The hidden depths of earth lie uncovered. The moment you roar in protest, let loose your hurricane anger. But me he caught, reached all the way. From sky to sea he pulled me out. Of that ocean of hate, that enemy chaos, the void in which I was drowning. They hit me when I was down, but God stuck by me. He stood me up on a wide open field. I stood there saved, surprised to be loved. God made my life complete when I placed all the pieces before him. When I got my act together, he gave me a fresh start. Now I'm alert to God's ways. I don't take God for granted. Every day I review the way he works. I try not to miss a trick. I feel back together, and I'm watching my step. God wrote the text of my life when I opened the book of my heart to his eyes. The good people taste your goodness. The whole people taste your health. The true people taste your truth. The bad ones can't figure you out. You take the side of the down and out, but the stuck up you take down a notch. Suddenly, God, you floodlight my life. I'm blazing with glory. God's glory. I smash the bands of marauders. I vault the highest fences. What a God! His road stretches straight and smooth. Every God direction is road tested. Everyone who runs toward him makes it. Is there any God like God? Are we not at bedrock? Is not this the God who armed me, then aimed me in the right direction? Now I run like a deer, I'm king of the mountain. He shows me how to fight. I can bend a bronze bow. You protect me with salvation armor. You hold me up with a firm hand. Caress me with your gentle ways. You cleared the ground under me, so my footing was firm. When I chased my enemies, I caught them. I didn't let go till they were dead men. I nailed them. They were down for good. Then I walked all over them. You armed me well for this fight. You smashed the upstarts. You made my enemies turn tail, and I wiped out the haters. They cried uncle, but uncle didn't come. They yelled for God and got no for an answer. I ground them to dust. They gusted in the wind. I threw them out like garbage in the gutter. You rescued me from a squabbling people. You made me a leader of nations. People I've never heard of served me. The moment they got wind of me, they listened. The foreign devils gave up. They came on their bellies, crawling from their hideouts. Live, God. Blessings from my rock, my free and freeing God, towering. This God set things right for me and shut up the people who talked back. He rescued me from enemy anger. He pulled me up from the grip of upstarts. He saved me from the bullies. That's why I'm thanking you, God, all over the world. That's why I'm singing songs that rhyme your name. God's King takes the trophy. God's chosen, his beloved. I mean David and all his children, always. And that is it for today's Bible reading. As always, get in touch with God today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.